thank you, Ella Baker Center and the Stop San Quentin Outbreak Zine for being here tonight. This is part of our big One City, One Book campaign, which is our hugest literary campaign of the year. If you haven't heard, I hope you've heard. This is Ear Hustle, the podcast, and the book. And it's a really lovely book and goes into the whole origin story. But you can check out the author talk that was just last Thursday on our YouTube channel. We fixed all the edits that happened during the live. If you missed the live event, there was some live action. So we cut all that. So check out the remaster. San Francisco Public Library would like to acknowledge that we occupy the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland, and as uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community. This week in the Correct Auditorium, actually it started on Saturday, we've been hosting the American Indian Film Fest. So it's been, part of my job today was to watch, I don't know, probably 13 films. It was such a rough day. Some days I love my job. So please come check it out every day this week from about 11 to, it ranges from 4 to 6. Amazing films. I was crying, I was laughing, all just fantastic. So come check that out. And a big shout out to the Segurite Land Trust, a women's-led organization in Oakland with working in the land back movement. So check all those, and that document has more researches on Ohlone land. So One City, we get to do a lot of things, and I don't want to talk too much about it. Pick up your brochure. It's available at 28 locations. I'll throw the chat link in there. But coming up in person, we have Zara Stone and Joe Loya in convo about Killer Looks, the history of plastic surgery in prisons. And then Kristen Henning and Reginald Dwayne Betts in convo about Henning's book, The Rage of Innocence. And this one I'm super excited for if you're familiar with the podcast or not. Sarah Cruzan has written a book about her story where she's spent 2 decades inside and for the murder of her trafficker, and has come out and just done amazing, amazing work. She's so powerful, so fierce, and just knowledgeable, and her tone is amazing. I can't wait to have her in the house. Check out her on the podcast of Ear Hustle. Beautiful. So please come out and support some in-person events. We have several openings in galleries. We'll have another event with Nigel and Erlan as side guests. They'll be in convo with Pindar Visharsha and Brandon Tazik talking about their art and essays called Facing Life. And we'll also be able to bring out Lynn Acosta, a formerly incarcerated woman, and she'll share her story. And this is accompanying an exhibit on our 5th floor. So much happening, so much. I wish I could tell you about every single thing, but we have other amazing humans tonight. So please just don't hesitate to check out all of the amazing things we have coming up and lasting through November through December. And I'm still skimming these, and I wish I could show you all, but I'm going to refrain, and I want to be able to turn it over to tonight's guests. Tonight we have the Ella Baker Center, who works locally, statewide, and nationally to shift resources away from prisons and punishment and toward opportunities that make communities safe, healthy, and strong. They mobilize everyday people to build power and prosperity in our communities. The Ella Baker Center Inside Out Fellowship sponsors currently and formerly incarcerated people to increase the contributions to the legislative process by people who are directly impacted by the policies they are advocating to change. And the San Quentin Zine Project highlights artwork, writing, and reflections from currently incarcerated community members on the COVID-19 outbreak inside San Quentin State Prison and across the California prison system. The zine documents the lived experience of people incarcerated during the pandemic and the organizing happening inside and outside of prison walls to call for large-scale releases across California prisons. Absolutely. Now is the time. It was the time, but now is a real reason for the time. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. No, am I going to stop sharing? I'm going to keep sharing, and I'm going to turn it over to, well, let's stop sharing for a second while you introduce yourselves. We have Elliot, Hosman, and Thanh Tran tonight. So I'm going to stop and turn it over.
Thank you so much, Anissa. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're so excited to share a bit about the work that we've been doing and our incredible comrades inside. My name is Elliot Hosman. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the Prison Advocacy Coordinator here at the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights. We're based in Oakland. I've been working with this organization in some capacity or another for about 8 years now. And just really thrilled to be with you all tonight and excited to tell you a little bit more about what we do. And I'll pass it over to Thanh.
Thank y'all. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to share more about the work that we're doing. I'm excited. It's some good stuff, y'all. Y'all gonna hear more in a little bit.
And we have Dortell Williams calling in right now. So I'm going to mute myself really quick and tell him what's going on. He'll introduce himself as well. All right, Dortell Williams is here. Dortell, would you like to say hello to the folks who are tuning in with the San Francisco Public Library event?
Hello. Nice to be here with you all and share this moment. And thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, Dortell. I think maybe what we can do, I was going to tell a little bit about the Ella Baker Center and the work that we do there. And then I'd love to pass it over to Dortell, just so that he can tell you a little bit about the work that he's been doing as our Inside Fellow over the last 9 months. So I'm going to start talking a bit about the Ella Baker Center now. So we celebrated our 25-year anniversary earlier this year. We've been doing this work. We started actually because of the death of a community member about 25 years ago in San Francisco who lost his life at the hands of police. There were a number of organizers who were doing cop watch work, and we gathered around the family and really demanded justice for this young man who tragically lost his life. And since then, we have been working across communities in the Bay Area and then across the state and across the nation to really talk about what does it mean to reinvest in our community, reimagine what public safety looks like, and to do that through empowering people. So our next slide, we talk a bit about, we're named after Ella Baker, who was a brilliant Black hero of the civil rights movement, someone who didn't get as much of the shine at the time with other leaders in the movement, but she really stood for the idea that people power is where it was at, right? So strong people don't need strong leaders. It's one of my favorite quotes from Ella Baker, really believing that, you know, we've got us, like we take care of us, and all of us are important to this movement. And we build power in a variety of ways. If you go to the next slide, you'll see we do things like we have our National Night Out for Safety and Liberation, which we hold in our community, and communities across the country celebrate this with us as an alternative vision of what public safety looks like for our communities. We know that we keep us safe. We know that strong communities keep us safe. And that looks like investing in our youth, investing in jobs and housing and education and mental health services as an alternative vision to what public safety can look like. We hold actions throughout the year. We participate in Oakland May Day. And a big part of what we've done, especially over the last 10 years, as we really look at state policy. So passing laws that help to empower and free our people. And through that, we started in the last 2 years this Inside Outside Policy Fellowship. For a long time, we've relied upon the brilliance of currently incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people to tell us where we need to look for the change that we're seeking for the world we want to build. So for many years, we've worked with holding policy classes, which Thanh held down for a long time at San Quentin. Policy classes where we listen to the people inside of like what needs to change on a state level, and we pass those laws. And we've seen so many people come home because of the brilliance of our folks inside and the vision that they have for our future. So as a part of this fellowship, we have been working with 3 Inside Fellows over the last year, and Dortell has been doing such incredible work for so long, and we are so incredibly blessed to have his vision, his incredible voice, his incredible writing, and just his deep compassion and kindness guiding our work in a lot of this. And so, Dortell, you have so much.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
You have so much to offer this audience in terms of all the things that you are about, your heart, your vision. I'm just wondering if you want to tell folks a little bit about your journey, what is important to you with the vision that you have and the policy work that you do, and maybe a bit about your experience with the Inside Outside Fellowship.
Sure. And before I start, can you kind of guide me on the time that I have, like 3 minutes, 4 minutes?
Yeah, I think that's good. Can folks give me a thumbs up? Maybe Thanh can give me a thumbs up if we can hear Dortell okay? Okay, all right, yeah. 3 to 4 minutes sounds great, Dortell, but you've got as much time as you'd like.
Cool. Okay, so thank you for that introduction, by the way, but kind of going back to the 25 years, the one thing that I really want to emphasize is Elliot Baker is a leader of the city, and what Elliot described earlier with the police incident was what later came to be called the police watch, and they were the first to do that. And spring forward 25 years, now we have the Inside Outside Fellowship, and again, what's unique and first is that Elliot Baker is treating the people inside, including myself, as an equal, and also paying us what we would be making if we were on the outside. So we are completely equal, other than the limitations of prison. And I really, really want to applaud Elliot Baker for setting that standard. And then also the fact that we're all important. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but the proof is in the pudding when Elliot Baker includes 3 fellows go inside or to be useful inside and be trusted and given a vision to basically have carte blanche and see how the cards come to play. Remarkable things happen. And so Elliot Baker's had that faith in us, and last year we were able to pass a number of bills that speak specifically to our conditions and to our plight, as opposed to someone trying to speak for us. And so it's been, from my vantage point, being on the inside, I for the first time in 33 years of my incarceration, I'm seeing empty bunks. I'm seeing people engaged in policy work. I'm seeing people that are excited about their own self-determination, which is exactly what Elliot Baker stood for. And so the vision that Elliot Baker started and that the Elliot Baker Center picked up on 25 years ago until today is being continuously manifested, it's growing, and it's been a really, really wonderful experience for me. What I have gotten out of it personally is, wow, I don't know where to start, but I guess the satisfaction of just getting the training, the political education training that I've received, and then being able to share it with my peers, and then seeing them grow, seeing some of them go home, or seeing some of them transfer to other institutions, and then hearing about how they're still carrying that torch to other places. And so, like a really democratic contagion, we have this movement on the inside where people are actually excited about having a voice that we've never had before, about having being empowered to write Ella Baker and say, hey, I think this would be a great idea. This is how this particular issue is affecting me in a negative way, or a lot of us in a negative way. And we would like to see this change. And then actually seeing what we call a policy idea proposal come into fruition, and seeing a lawmaker take that and turn it into a bill that is being fought for vigorously by the Ella Baker Center and maybe sponsors, and turned into a law is so exciting. It's beautiful. So that's been my experience in just 9 months, and it's been really, really great for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dortell. You're getting a lot of love in the chat. I see Ant saying, appreciate your work, bro. And I'm just wondering, like, you have shared with me many times and shared with our staff many times your vision for a lot of what can be changed. I'm wondering if there's any particular issue you'd want to talk about. I don't know if folks in the room know what a life without the possibility of parole sentence is. But if you wanted to just speak a little bit about the need, what that sentence is and why we need to shift it, and free our folks.
Well, there are guys in here who have a lot of empathy for us who have life without, because it's a hopeless sentence, and it means that you will die in prison. And so I tell the guys who have empathy for me that, they might say, you've been in 33 years. I can't believe you've been in that long. I just got 3 years. What am I going to complain about? But I think any time in prison is too long, and especially in the conditions that we live in. I would like to see a prison system that actually deals with our mental health. It deals with the conditions that brought us to prison in the first place. And if you really want to talk about public safety, then that would be the way to do it. But punishing people is kind of like putting a child in a corner and saying, I'm punishing you, and go stand in that corner, and when your half an hour is up, you stand in that corner, and you can do what you do. But the child learns nothing, they get no direction, and they get no alternative. And that's pretty much the way your modern prisons work, is that we don't get the services that we need to deal specifically with our issues. And so over the years, they've just ratcheted up the punishment until you have this disproportionate number of people serving sentences of life without, and that were designed to be for the worst of worst, but now it's just your average person who can get that sentence. And so, there's really, really a need to change the whole system, to create a model that is patient-centered, if you will, that is people-centered, and not punishment-centered, because punishment is probably the worst thing that you can do if you're getting on public safety.
Thank you for that, Dortell. I am just so grateful for you and the way that you impact our work. Thank you for sharing with the audience today a bit about your experience and what's important to you. I'm wondering, Thanh, if you want to speak from your perspective a bit about the Inside Outside Fellowship, your work with Dortell, and Thanh was actually our first Inside Fellow, and is now a part of our work in both communications and policy and doing incredible things. But yeah, I'd love to hear your take on it as well, Thanh.
Absolutely. I think it would be most helpful if we played the slide with Issa's video on it first. I think after we play the slide and play the video, I definitely would love to add some more details and flesh it out a little bit more. But I feel like no one explains this program and what we're doing better than Issa. So I definitely want to put Issa's voice in the room right now.
Is this the correct slide, Tom?
Correct. Thank
Right.
you. Shout out to Issa, y'all.
I think part of the issue, however, has been that people on the outside of prisons haven't always invested in those sites of resistance and the people who are going through captivity in ways that make that organizing as effective as it possibly could be. I think the key to the success of this movement, it's understanding the expertise of people who are directly impacted by this system. It's not just their experience in being currently or formerly incarcerated, it's all of the skills and the totality of their humanity. And when we invest in that, that's when we will finally dismantle this system. The purpose of the Inside Outside Fellowship is to bring people into the conversation and have them play a role in policies that affect their lives.
This experience being the Inside Fellow has been empowering, it's been educational, it's work. I know I'm participating in something important. With every action, big or small, I know we're reinventing and recreating this justice system. So it just feels good on the inside to know that I'm doing this.
Ella Baker Center is just investment in folks who are most directly impacted by the policy work, legislation work, and community organizing that we're doing out in the world. What do folks inside need, and what are the strategies and levers that we can be pulling here on the outside that can help get our folks free, not just for our individual advocacy efforts, but for change across the system and change across the state.
What's important about what the Ella Baker Center is doing and setting a precedent about recognizing that this type of organizing is important. It is important that these things are recognized and also resourced.
I think for us to be able to be the most effective in changing laws is actually for us to be in deep relationship with people inside and with their families and people who are home. It's really important for people to trust the Ella Baker Center, to see that we are listening and that we're following up, and that what people are saying to us matters and that we're bringing it forward.
Where change happens and where the work happens is at the intersections of those relationships, is in our shared commitment to one another and to one another's struggle for freedom.
The people closest to the problems are closest to the solution. Give us the tools to rebuild our justice system and watch us build next to you. Watch us grind next to you. Watch us devote more than just our testimonies, but our intellect and our minds. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for playing the video. I just want to say that, I don't know, every time I see that video, it definitely pulls on my heartstrings because it's amazing to see. When I created that, when this video was created, I was still currently incarcerated and an inside fellow, and the work brought me home. Ella Baker Center brought me home. And that's how I'm here in front of you today. I was released about 6 months ago, and it was thanks to the Inside Outside Fellowship. It was thanks to community. But I just want to share real quick a story about the inception of the Inside Outside Fellowship, right? I think it's important and it really highlights like what this program is, because essentially this program started with the handshake. This program started when James King, who was my mentor, when he was going home, he said, "Thanh, I'm going to create a system that's going to honor and acknowledge currently incarcerated people. And we're going to make sure that currently incarcerated people are going to be participating in the policies that affect them the most. I don't know how I'm going to create it, but we're going to create it." That's what James King told me right before he went home. And the very next year, he created the Inside Outside Fellowship, right? And I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. Like, this is when it started, but really it started before that even, right? It really started in 2015, 2016, when Ella Baker Center came into San Quentin and was teaching currently incarcerated people about civic engagement and about policy, right? And then what was birthed from that was now a population of currently incarcerated people who understood how to move policy. And then from that place, we saw laws like SB 260 and 261, which was the juvenile laws that allowed people to come home sooner. We saw SB 1437, the felony murder rule, came out of San Quentin. Like, this was the population, this was the power that was built from Ella Baker Center coming inside and educating the currently incarcerated people at the time. And I was blessed to be around a cohort of educated incarcerated people who truly understood the system and how to create change. And I'll share this. I remember in 2018, I was at a low point in my incarceration. I felt like there was no way I was ever going to get out of prison, right? I felt hopeless and I felt lost. And that's when James King said, "Thanh, I have something for you to do. You have a gift, you have a talent, you have something to give, and that thing is towards policy." James King had started an inside currently incarcerated policy team. And from that policy team, when he was getting ready to go home and he gave me that handshake and he said he was going to create something, it was from that place that this whole program was started, right? So first it was valuing currently incarcerated people. Ella Baker Center valued our education, valued our engagement, and valued continuing to build with us over the years. That's what birthed this program, and that's what this program is continuing to do, right? And I feel it's fitting and powerful that a formerly incarcerated person created this program to reach back inside to James King's fellow currently incarcerated folks. He reached back inside and said, "I'm out here now, and I'm going to bring your voices with me. I'm going to bring your engagement with me. I'm going to bring your power with me." And shout out, y'all see it in the chat, James King, Ella Baker Center, my mentor, love him to death. Yeah, so I just want to name that. Like, this is what this program is doing. It's disruptive, right? The currently incarcerated fellows, like, I want to give an example. When I was currently incarcerated and I was the first inside fellow, I remember one day just calling in, checking in with Issa. Issa was our outside fellow at the time. I said, "Issa, what's going on?" She said, "Thanh, I'm actually sitting right here with a legislator right now, and they want to know about this bill, Assembly Bill 292, which was access to programs, and they want to know why they should pass this bill." I was like, "Well, let me tell this legislator something. I got something for this legislator," right? So I jumped on this payphone, not expecting to talk to a senator, but here I am pitching this bill idea from a payphone in prison to a senator. And then let me just share that at the end of that year, AB 292 became law and it passed, right? And it didn't pass just solely because of me, right? And the currently incarcerated participation, but the currently incarcerated participation moved the needle, right? And it was a part of this recipe that we have. We know that proximity, people who are closest to the problem, like I said in the video, are closest to the solutions. And we know that when we create proximity, we create better policy, right? So I just want to name that about our program. And I think it's only fitting if now we gave an overview of what the program is. We heard from Dortell, y'all heard from currently incarcerated Thanh. Then you heard from formerly incarcerated Thanh. I think I want to now, if we can move to the slide and just highlight some of our incredible currently incarcerated fellows, our inside fellows. We can start with Steve Brooks, right? Shout out. We have a video for Steve Brooks. Can we drop the Steve Brooks video in the chat? We won't be watching the video because we don't want to bore y'all to death with videos tonight. You know, we appreciate y'all time. We're trying to give y'all a little bit better than videos, right? But y'all can watch the video right there. Can you just drop the link perhaps without because I don't think that link is working. But anyways, I want to read Steve Brooks's bio real quick. I was incarcerated with Steve Brooks, and he is an African-American writer, activist, and award-winning journalist. Originally from Southern California, Steve played an instrumental role in the move to end race-based lockdowns in California prisons. He also been a part of the San Quentin Inside Organizing Team since 2019. I can vouch for that. He was there. Shout out to Steve Brooks, right? During the outbreak at San Quentin in the summer of 2020, he wrote several articles covering the outbreak. He has been an outspoken advocate for policy changes in decarceration. He is currently the Journalism Guild Chairman for San Quentin News and a manager of SQ's Wall City magazine. So Steve Brooks is a prolific writer, right? He has multiple articles published everywhere. I'm telling you, Google the name Steve Brooks, San Quentin, and watch what pops up. He is more famous than folks out here on the street. So shout out to my brother, Steve Brooks, right? And we can slide to the next slide. Mara. I really love the fact that, we're highlighting our folks right now who are currently incarcerated. And I hope if y'all see and y'all connect with the people and what they're doing, I really hope that y'all do what y'all can to advocate for their freedom also when the time comes, whether it's a support letter or whatever it is. Let's free our folks. But Mara, shout out to Mara Valencia. She is a Latina woman from San Diego, California. Mara has been a member of CCWP, shout out to them, California's Coalition for Women Prisoners since 2016, first working to end the suicide crisis at the California Institution for Women, which was a terrible time. In 2019, Mara created a youth mentor organization to help her community at CIW. YMO trains and supports youth mentees to become mentors and community leaders. At its largest and prior to COVID, Mara and her team supported 75 participants in the program. She's a proud mother of Angel and Samira Flores. So shout out to Mara. I'm super happy to be able to bring them into the room. And we can slide to the last slide right here about collaborating with Inside Fellows. Slithering and sliding, that's what we're doing today. Okay, shout out. Collaborating with the Inside Fellows. Publishing writing in support of a campaign and discussing conditions inside prison, right? So like I named earlier, Steve Brooks, prolific writer. There's different things that they've done, op-eds, public statements, blog posts, and this is Dortell, Mara, and Steve Brooks. Let me not just gas up Steve Brooks and forget my two other folks, because they both have written op-eds, blog posts, social media content, right? And you can find Steve Brooks' article right there. I survived the COVID-19 outbreak at San Quentin. Shout out. And let me just tell you, that was a terrible time at San Quentin, but I shall pass it. Let's move to the last slide. People, not the last slide, but the next slide, people-powered policy. And I want to pass it back over to Elliot.
Thank you so much, Thanh. Oof, I get emotional with all of this. I just really appreciate you giving us some history here, talking about your journey and the importance of this work. And Thanh hit it so many times, but I just want to say, like, what really guides us in the work that we do is this vision of people-powered policy. So if you look in the center photo here, this is some of the crew at San Quentin. Most of these folks are out now. Shout out to their incredible work in self-advocacy, the community that supported them in their freedom journeys. And we are still fighting for the remaining folks who are incarcerated in this photo. But this is a visit that our team did before the pandemic, and one of many visits where we met inside with our comrades, not just in San Quentin, but at other prisons, and really listened to the vision that folks had for the future and the change that we needed. And we took that vision to the Capitol. So the photos that you see around are mostly in Sacramento, where we fought for these bills that free our folks. Many of the folks in these photos are also formerly incarcerated, so they have dedicated their lives on the outside to going back and fighting for their loved ones who are still behind bars. You see the youth. This movement would be nothing without the youth. We love our powerful young people and the clarity and the integrity and the truth that they bring into these spaces, how they talk about the impact that incarceration has on them as well as family members of people who are currently incarcerated. And really as like a political education for our youth as we're working to change hearts and minds and imagine and manifest the future that we want. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see some of the bills that we've worked on in just the last couple of years, most of which have been successful, but all of which have been incredible campaigns filled with heart, people coming together, people empowering each other, us all learning about this policy process together and building people power along the way. The first, that top left corner is SB 483. We call it the RISE Act. This was a bill that kind of slipped through the legislature last year, and as of January 1st, it went into effect. And I don't think people really knew how impactful this bill was going to be until it kind of happened. But it creates 14,000 resentencing hearings for people across the state of California, and it will take a minimum of 20,000 years off of people's sentences. So we've been in the trenches supporting advocates and public defenders and lawyers across the state, family members currently incarcerated, to access the justice that this bill promises of repealing ineffective sentence enhancements and bringing people home. Another bill that we passed that we've been building off of for many years was SB 1393. This was an idea that was generated from our folks inside of San Quentin, who noted that there were 100,000 years on people's sentences for what was called a nickel prior. These are 5-year enhancements that are just added on for every prior felony you've already served time on before in a new sentencing hearing. Completely unjust, completely redundant, and unnecessary time. And so this bill got rid of the mandatory application of these 5-year prior enhancements moving forward, and has been a genesis for really us using resentencing laws to get our people back into court across the state. We also just recently passed the Racial Justice Act for All, which has just been an incredible movement, an incredible learning experience, an incredible group of people organizing so that acts of racism that occur in the sentencing process, in the charging process, all throughout a hearing, even in the initial pretextual stop by police, can be addressed now in courts in ways that can help to free our folks. This, like many bills, was not retroactive at first because the legislature often has a resistance to retroactive bills. So we went back this year and we were just able to pass the Racial Justice for All, which makes racism in the courts something that can be addressed for all people who are currently incarcerated, and will result in thousands of petitions and hopefully many people coming back home to us. As Thanh mentioned, there's AB 292 right there. This was passed during the COVID pandemic, but was really designed to increase access to programming for folks. And we have been fighting for a long time. Dortell's vision in this has been absolutely crucial, as well as family members of people who are serving these life without the possibility of parole sentences, also known as death by incarceration. We have been building with an incredible coalition of folks for many years. While SB 300 was not successful this year, we also know that we have opened a door more widely, that we will continue to knock on and to push down so that we can free the thousands of folks who are currently serving these death by incarceration sentences in California and create a pathway for them to come home. If you go to the next slide, some of the ways that we collaborate with our currently incarcerated folks, including our incredible Inside Fellows, is we create resource guides. We create self-advocacy manuals. We lift up the demands of people who are currently incarcerated about conditions. This was particularly crucial and meaningful for us during the COVID pandemic's start and height. At its height, the outbreak at San Quentin was the largest outbreak in the country in terms of the numbers and the percentage of people who were infected by the virus. It created a really terrifying situation for people who were currently incarcerated, their loved ones, their community members out here. And we started a coalition, which we'll talk a little bit more about with some more information about the zine. But we started a coalition, and these demands were actually created by Thanh and other folks who were currently incarcerated at San Quentin at the time. And we were able to lift these up to legislators, the governor, CDCR, media, people across the state, and really create a movement to highlight how dangerous it was for folks who were incarcerated during the pandemic to be locked down, to be in such close proximity without the benefits of, quote, social distancing and these other really necessary health precautions that we were able to take more readily on the outside. So we have recently launched our Back to Court toolkit. This has been an ongoing inside-outside collaboration for many years. This would not have been possible without currently incarcerated people's vision, input, drafting, just general editorial brilliance. For many years, we launched this in 2019. We just came out with a new version a couple of months ago. But this has been like a key resource for both currently incarcerated people and their family members and support networks and advocates and lawyers out here to really understand the breadth of resentencing laws in California that can help people seek relief from long sentences. Once their appeals are up, you know, usually people are able to appeal to appellate courts, Supreme Court, but oftentimes there's no relief there. And then we see, just with the explosion of mass incarceration since the 90s, that we have so many people, tens of thousands of people who are stuck with these extreme sentences and no relief in the courts. But thanks to new laws and many of the laws which Ella Baker has been passing with these sentence enhancement repeals, people now have a day in court to have excessive sentences removed, to come home to their families and to be thought leaders and community members and people who contribute to our public safety, our community. So this is something that we do with Inside Fellows and a lot of our Inside organizers, and just many of the 9,000 people we're in touch with in California prisons and jails throughout the state. And we've been really excited to just share like accurate information. We saw this really deeply in the COVID pandemic, but people, especially when we were also learning about COVID out here, there was no information about what was happening in terms of the public health disaster that was COVID. And so we really became like one of the many orgs that were really trying to send in reliable, accurate information to people for free, without trying to take advantage of people's families, without like, you know, there's a lot of lawyers out here that will often like charge families like crazy amounts to not actually provide them any help. We really wanted to make sure that there was reliable self-advocacy resources that anyone could access to get to their freedom without even because most people cannot afford a lawyer at this point in their sentence. If you go to the next one, we talk a little bit more about the guide. This is actually a picture at Tan's resentencing hearing just many months ago. Some of your family members there celebrating on the court steps once they had learned that your sentence had been returned and that you were going to be coming home. And it's thanks to the stories and insights and experiences like Tan that we're able to continue to have new resources, best information that we possibly can share with thousands of people inside, so that they can advocate for their freedom. And I'll tell you a little bit more. We also have a prison mail program that we're really excited about. If you go to the next slide, we hold these virtual monthly prison mail nights. We went virtual during the COVID pandemic. We meet every month with dozens of us, including many staff at the Ella Baker Center, and we respond to letters. We get hundreds of letters every month, and we would always love more support in answering these many letters. We also will drop some links in the chat, but we have something that's really special to me and to many folks, which is our annual holiday mailing. As you all know, out here, holidays can be a very lonely time of year. It's a particularly hard time of year inside. And we coordinate with hundreds of volunteers every year. We provide all of this, the stamps and the resources, the cards, the newsletters, everything you need. All that we ask is that you write a little note on each card that just honors someone's humanity, gives them some hope, lets them know that you care about them, that they're an honored and valued member of our community, and that we're fighting for them out here. So we will drop the link in the chat, but we're going to be working to send holiday cards to over 9,000 people. It's non-denominational. It's not any like specific holiday, but we're really just trying to resource people with information about new laws that may help them get free, as well as just to humanize their experience and to show them that we care about them. So yeah, we can talk a little bit also about the Stop San Quentin outbreak. In the next slide here, we have some of the pictures of some of the incredible organizing that occurred in like the first 2 years of the pandemic. At the time, my loved one was also incarcerated. This was a very scary time for many family members and advocates out here who were looking for a way to just ring the alarm of what we saw coming a mile away, which was that folks who were currently incarcerated in these congregate settings were at such an incredible vulnerability to transmission of the disease, to some of the worst health consequences of these diseases. And we also knew that there was a lack of empathy. We knew that people didn't necessarily understand who is currently incarcerated, what their experience is like. We have true crime and these movies about prisons and jails and these documentaries and TV shows, but we also knew that most people just don't actually understand what prisons are really like. And I think that's one of the beauties of Ear Hustle, right? And why we're so excited to be a part of this series is that it's a glimpse and a window into what people are actually going through, who is currently incarcerated. These aren't like sort of like the monsters of television, right? This is like incredible human beings who are put upon by a very unfair system, which metes out very unequal, unreliable, inconsistent results on any given day in any given county. That's one of the things that is so harmful and glaring about the life without the possibility of parole sentence is it's not meted out consistently, right? It's more than likely going to be someone who was 18 or 19 years old at the time, who was Black or brown, who did not have the resources to hire a private attorney, who was put upon by a DA in a conservative county. And so we see that there are so many opportunities for political education just to humanize our folks inside. And we really felt this urgency during the outbreak to free our families and to just really draw public awareness around what was happening inside. So this was like, these pictures are from a number of different protests, press conferences, car protests for social distancing, a number of different groups who put these on, many of whom we supported or co-sponsored along the way, with really the call to free them all. Which was, is still, I think, unpopular in certain spaces, but is what we're fighting for. We don't want people left behind. We don't believe that people are disposable. We believe that people are more than their mistakes. And that I have seen, like, the people who have the key to our collective healing are the people who've been through the most, the hardships that are really our lessons and how we heal from the worst things. So this was, just an incredible time and a really heartbreaking time. We lost many folks along the way. And some of these pictures are from vigils that we had to hold, right? Because we weren't there. We didn't get a free them all reaction to our demands and to our pleas for mercy and for just human empathy. And we're still fighting to free people from these extreme sentences, from these terrible conditions, so that when we have public health disasters like this, we have a humane response. And one of the ways that we wanted, if you go to the next slide, one of the ways we really wanted to just archive what occurred, the impacts that it had on people emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, what it was like inside San Quentin and other prisons during this public health disaster, was to really highlight sort of the experiences directly from people inside. So we have been working to create this Stop San Quentin Outbreak Zine for almost 2 years now. We're about to go into publication. The thing about zines is they always take longer than you think they will, but we are very close. We've been so grateful for the donations that have come in from community members across the state who understand the importance of creating a documented history here of what happened, and the voices closest to this problem and their experiences to both change hearts and minds, but to also welcome change. So we're close to publication. It's going to be really, it's not just folks at San Quentin. While the editorial team is inside San Quentin, we've reached out to folks across prison system in California to really discuss what this was like across the state. We know this wasn't a San Quentin problem. In fact, some of the prisons that were hit the hardest by the outbreak were the prisons that didn't have the benefit of like the Bay Area media and lots of organizations that were going in and out and aware of the people inside and the programs that we're running. And if you go to the next slide, some of our goals really want to highlight the continued threat of overcrowded prisons and the need for large-scale decarceration. This has been something that's been litigated in the Supreme Court and courts for almost 2 decades. We know that we have a mass incarceration problem. We know that locking people up and not letting them ever come home, trying to hide people from the public, trying to hide our problems away in cages is not how we heal, is not how we prevent harm from happening again. We really want to highlight the fact that this isn't just a COVID problem. This is a prison problem. There will always be some kind of virus or flu or outbreak of some kind that has consistently threatened the health and safety of our loved ones inside for decades. And we need plans for large-scale decarceration across the state. We also want to document the ongoing resistance and organizing and vision of our currently incarcerated folks across California, who were the ones who raised the alarms, who wrote their demands, who guided us in our advocacy out here, and to visually tell the story of what the coalition was, what our organizing efforts were, and what we were able to achieve, and also to just highlight along the way. And the next slide is my brother, my dear, dear friend, Christopher Marshall, whose friendship has literally changed my life. Christopher is a playwright, an artist, a headstrong, incredible human who I owe so much of my joy and my own understanding of the problems we're up against and what it takes to solve them. Christopher has been one of our incredible leaders in the Zine Project for a number of years now. As he says here, he is the son of Oliver and Audua. His brothers are John, Randall, and Oliver. He is the father of Antoinette and Chris Jr., the grandfather of Justin, Jody, and Bishop, the uncle of Jacob, Andre, Jordan, Christina, Thunder, Joshua, Araya, Haley, Justin, Michaela, and Harper, who he talks about all the time, by the way. I would love to play a recording from Christopher so you can hear his voice, hear about who he is and what's important to him, and just so you can hear a little bit more about the Zine Project and what we're trying to achieve.
Everywhere I stroll, there's a gun. I'm under fire like JRT of the Lord of the Rings. Still, gotta do art under these most horrible of human extremes. San Francisco Public Library, what's going on? Marsh here. Thank you for allowing my voice to be heard while in the final stages of my involvement with a zine that is focused on the COVID-19 outbreak that coursed its deadly path through San Quentin. As a play and screenwriter, it has been an honor to step out of my comfort zone and co-edit the Stop San Quentin Outbreak Zine. Art is my savior. Plays and film are my medium to highlight social issues that potentially make our society unbearable to coexist in. The pandemic was the worst public health issue of my lifetime. with death all around and my best friend going home, I fell into a deep depression in my 6x9 cell without 6 feet of social distancing anywhere. And I was comfortable in this depression. Then, my sister girl Elliot sent me the love poem by Gibran, and I began writing again, which brought me to a place of peace. Then again, so did one thing I saw on TV all over the world without humans driving, clear-cutting forests, and flying all around the world with our shared pollution. I saw nature come back. Dolphins were swimming in the canals of Venice, along with clear skies in Mumbai. I saw hope there, and turned to art to express what I saw and desired. Art is essential in every culture and on every continent. There are no barriers to the written word, poetry, potting, a drawing or painting, music, and food together, of course. We all share these things. I choose to use my art forms to find solutions, or simply discuss those uncomfortable things we all see in society, yet nothing seems to be getting done about many of those societal ills. And I'll use art to highlight them, such as affirmative action in colleges, or the Stop San Quentin Outbreak. I choose to focus in that zine on the voiceless here in San Quentin, the LGBTQ community. I thank the brothers and sisters for their contributions in revisiting their lived traumas, where several of them almost died. The community has persevered. As an ally, I will do the right thing with their stories and appreciate being held in their trust. Time is split. We know what needs to be done in our society to achieve our semblance of equity. Because if a woman doesn't have a right to choose, what else are we as a society willing to lose? These are the things I write about.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
These are the things I write about. Thus, looks like I'll continually have plenty of material to be creative with, unfortunately. So let's find the willpower to sacrifice, seek change, move things forward with art or without, because change is a must. We gotta develop real friendships with each other and our planet, cause your friend is your needs answered. He is your field which you sow with love and reap with thanksgiving. And he is your board and your fireside, where you come to him with your hunger and you seek him for peace. Gibran, march out. Peace.
If you know Marsh, that is classically Marsh. Thank you all for joining me and listening to our dear friend Christopher Marshall's words. He is a visionary, a Renaissance person of many talents, and we are really hopeful that he will be coming home in the next year when he goes to board for the second time. So with that, I want to just share some of the ways that you can get involved with the work that you do if you feel so moved. Apologies for the many tries at that link, but here we go. Here it is. Thank you, bit.ly. But we are having our virtual prison meal night this Thursday. If you want to join, it's okay if it's your first time. We're very nice. Ton is there. Ton is very nice. We do sweet little check-ins for about half an hour just so you get to know everybody. We have easy tasks to start it off with if it's your first time. You can get to know a little bit more about the people we're writing with and the resources that we provide. You can join us if you want to sign up to send some holiday cards in. I'll be holding it down with many of my comrades at the Fruitvale BART station or near the Fruitvale BART station at our office, and you can come by and pick up those packets in the next 6 weeks. And if you're interested in receiving a copy of the Stop San Quentin Outbreak Zine when it is ready early next year, you can just shoot me an email and I'll get you in touch with the publishers. They're really excited to hear about this event happening tonight and just spread the word about the incredible art and incredible voices that are contributing to this incredible archival process. So I would love to hear from folks in the room. I know we packed a ton of content into the last hour. I see some of these names in the chat, and I'm so grateful that y'all are here. I'm wondering if there's any questions you have about what you've seen today, any comments or reflections on things that surprised you or were new to you or interesting to you. And just open it up for a bit of a community dialogue here. But yeah, I think we have option to put questions in the chat if you want to do that. I'm not sure if people can come off mute and contribute in that way as well. We'd love to just hear from you.
We can make all of that happen. And there is a question. Oh, no, I guess it went away. Oh, no, it got answered. Thank you, Tom. And I think that is a nice question. Maybe we read it out and just, I think folks would like to know. I think that's interesting. The question was, are you able to compensate fellows on the inside for their work? And it's so important.
Absolutely. And I answered the question. Yes, we do pay folks on the inside. And that was one of the revolutionary things about this program. It's more than just giving lip service and saying, we value you. If you value something, you pay for something, right? Straight up. So we pay folks on the inside over $2,000 a month for their work, right? And I was the first person to ever receive that money. And let me just tell you, like, that is life-changing money when you're incarcerated. $2,000 a month. While you're incarcerated, that's enough to take care of your family on the outside and take care of yourself. You go from being a burden to an asset. So that's one of our main values about this program, is that it's more than just saying and asking folks that, hey, we appreciate you. Do you think you can come and participate? You know, we don't ask that of our currently incarcerated folks. We say we want you to participate, and we want to pay you just like we pay people on the outside, because that's when you truly value somebody and you truly value their worth, you're gonna reflect that in your dollar bills. So, any more questions, y'all?
Yeah, I just want to, thank you, Ton, for answering that question. Some folks may be like, how are you paying folks inside? We know that there are definitely restrictions that we have on how we can compensate folks. We work with people's families. We put money on their books. We get packages inside. But we really do try to honor their labor, I think, in ways that for a long time we've been struggling as a movement to really do authentically. So really grateful for the ways that EVC has shown up in resourcing this and understanding the importance of resourcing our folks inside. And it's one of those things. I mean, we have a $15 budget or something. It fluctuates from 14 to 16 billion every year for our prison system in California, which translates at a minimum to about $100,000 a year per person. To be incarcerated in our system. That goes way up as people who have medical conditions or elderly. The state is paying millions of dollars often for them to be incarcerated each year, but the conditions are terrible, right? I mean, this is something where the food is not edible or nutritious. There are not like regular amounts of usable hygiene products. Like, people really do have to rely upon their families, support networks, or jobs that pay 8 cents an hour in order to really afford the basic necessities of life. So this is like really important that we honor people's work and contribute to their well-being while they are incarcerated and help them fight for their freedom. I'm seeing some really beautiful comments in the chat. Thank you all so much. I appreciate this feedback and these comments and affirmations. I'm wondering if there's anyone who wants to just come off mute. I think if you raise your hand, Anissa can unmute you and just share a little bit about what this presentation has been like, or what your experience has been working with people who are currently incarcerated or fighting for their freedom, or just learning about this through Ear Hustle or other venues.
Anthony.
Just wanted to read Anthony's comment out loud. Oh, no need. Anthony is here.
Yes.
Shout out, my brother.
How y'all doing? No, I just want to really comment on how important it was, especially during the pandemic, on getting those letters from Ella Baker. Like, those were very important, very informative, and to have them to be able to reach out to us, that made a difference in like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. Sending us health laws and everything that we can do, those are powerful. So I really ask that everybody here that, like, donate if you can, because it's very important. And sometimes those are the only letters guys get inside that's been down 30, 40 years, and those are meaningful. So just think about that, receiving a letter from somebody that really cares about your health and well-being. So yeah, thank you.
The great Anthony Ammons. I'm so glad you're here, dear friend. Anthony has been doing just incredible work in so many ways, supporting folks in reentry, passing incredible laws in the legislature, and just really blessing all of us with his brilliance and kind heart. I'm so glad you're here.
Shout out to Ant.
I'm gonna come join you. That was so amazing, and thank you both and everyone out here for all that love and sharing. And I'm so glad we got to get a phone call in. Too bad that our friend did not call us back, Dortell. But thank you. That was really such an experience. And one of the Ear Hustle's top 10 is about really the importance of letter writing and just how much of a lifeline it really is. So we do have a letter writing 101 for queer folks. Come check that out. And that's an in-person. We're going to gather, and it's with ABO Comics and Over the Wall. So it should be good. And just, we're going to be in space. It's going to be in our beautiful Hormel Center too, which is gorgeous. And then, like I said, those resources were definitely flying. So here again is the link for tonight's event. And I'm going to throw it in the YouTube. We didn't ignore you, YouTube. Hi. Thanh and Elliot, thank you so much for sharing this amazing work. And I mean, this is what makes me happy to do what I do too, is to be able to share your work. So thank you. And I'll see you both soon. Oh yeah, you had your email if folks wanted to get a hold of you, which is right there. And we'll add that to the doc. Any last words?
I'll start and just say a huge shout out to you, Anissa. Thank you for your vision in all of this. Thank you for inviting us to speak. Thank you for your commitment to our folks inside and the many incredible people that are fighting for this change. I'm deeply grateful for the ways that the San Francisco Public Library shows up for our incarcerated people and resources them with information and books and research so they can fight for their freedom, stay connected to the outside world, pursue their passions, engage in healing art, and just really building that bridge across the walls. Yes, shout out to the jail and reentry services and the reference service where people can find these resources. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Sorry for the car alarm. Just so grateful to be with y'all in community tonight and to share a bit about our incredible comrades.
Thanks, Elliot. And yeah, we do our little tiny jail and reentry services department, tiny and mighty. They do the most of the reference by email, by mail, this side of the Mississippi. So they are an amazing team, and they are just, I love them. I can't say enough about it. Thanh, throw us down. Get us out of here.
All right, y'all, let me close it out. I just want to say shout out to everybody. Elliot shouted out, but super shout out to Ear Hustle, Erlon, Nigel. Shout out to the fact that we highlight incarcerated stories, formerly and currently incarcerated stories, and bringing it to your attention. Once again, I just want to ask you all, please continue to engage. Please donate to Ella Baker Center. You can find us at ellabakercenter.org, right? And you can also contact us below. We need your support. We need your help. As y'all heard, it is not cheap making sure that we're being value aligned. So we need your help, and we appreciate you all. Thank you for being here tonight.
All right. Good night, friends. Have a wonderful night.